Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of GGinspire. Very excited for whatever we're going to talk about today. It's a pleasure to be able to join you. I am an entrepreneur, been in business for 10 years, and here to share with you some thoughts that I've got, some of my stories, and some of my view on what's going on in the world and why people maybe aren't as successful as they'd like to be. We'll see a few people getting on. We actually have a bunch of people jumping on all over the country right now. We've got expansion happening all over the country, and just really thrilled about the direction where people are going and what we're going to be able to achieve. So really looking forward to a great day today. I'm going to share with you some of my thoughts. I am, like I said, I'm an entrepreneur. I've been in business for quite some time, and what I found is that most people, most of us come from a middle-class mindset. Would you agree that the predominance of the people that we deal with are of a middle-class mindset? I was raised by a single mom, and she worked very, very hard. She was an operating room nurse, and she worked and worked and worked, and she was able to save and plan and buy a house. I mean, I think when we bought our house, she told me a few years ago, when we bought our house, it was like $125,000, which was like a huge stretch. And can you imagine that? And that sounds like nothing now. But it was a big deal to be able to purchase a house like that by yourself. And my mom is a pioneer. She's one of these people that just blows me away with her mindset and her attitude and her belief in herself. And she's always positive. She's just somebody who's always positive and always puts things together, and somehow is able to keep her vibe and her energy good, even when it feels like everything's kind of falling down around her ankles or her shoulders, right? So we've got some people jumping on, very excited. So I want to talk a little bit about middle-class mindset today. So most of us are middle-class mindset, and we have that belief that we're not doing badly, right? But we're also maybe not up where we want to be. So middle-class mindset people, the middle class, we know that there are people up there that are doing much better than us. They make a lot of money, and they have a lot more options. They're able to do lots of great things, but there's some fundamental differences between us and them, right? So the middle class learns to they embrace living comfortably, right? They want to live comfortably. They want to they were taught, right, by their teachers, by their parents, by grandparents, by their friends, by the people around them. They were taught that basically you want to go to school, you want to study hard, you want to get good grades. One day you can have a good life, and you can establish yourself as somebody who has a family, and be a contributing member of society, right? And I was reading an article earlier today that was talking about be a good boy or be a good girl, right? It starts with the middle class is kind of right in the middle. So we're kind of supposed to stay in our box, so to speak, right? Let me get some water. Excuse me. So we're supposed to stay in our box, and we're supposed to keep things together, right? But it starts by kind of shaming us to keep us into that box. But we embrace being comfortable. We want to be comfortable. But the interesting thing is that the wealthy and the rich and the people that are world class, they are comfortable being uncomfortable. They take risks. They do different things. They do things that are outside their comfort zone. They ask questions. They question authority. They maybe don't do things exactly as they were told because they consider the source of who it's coming from, right? And so because they're considering the source, they look at things differently, and they want to wonder, well, is it that person's opinion, or is that actual fact that they're giving me, right? It may not always be fact that they're giving us. And so for me, when I was growing up, everything that my teacher said and everything that my parents said pretty much I considered it fact. If that was what they were saying, they were my authority and I should listen, right? But the world class, they don't think that way, right? People who are not middle class, they question and they ask more, and so who are you, right? Where do you fit in? Are you somebody who's willing to be a little bit uncomfortable and maybe have people look at you what's wrong with them? Or maybe have people question what's going on with them, or how come they say things like that, or why are they different? I was always taught I don't want to be different. I want people to I was already different enough. You know, if you look at me, like growing up 30 years ago, I wrote an article about this the other day. It's posted on Grant Cardone TV. I wrote an article saying that I grew up, you know, not knowing that I was different until I was like maybe 10 or 11 years old, when somebody said to me, like, why do you look so weird? You know, I grew up in, like, if you guys know LA, like I went to a school in Laurel Canyon, like in a really cute little school in Laurel Canyon, where there was not a ton of diversity in that school, right? So I didn't look like anybody else, and like biracial people were not the norm 30 years ago, right? 30 plus years ago. They weren't the norm. And so I didn't know I was any different. But are you okay with being different, right? Are you okay with people looking at you and wondering why, right? Why are you doing things differently? Why are you saying things differently? Or how come you don't have to conform? How come you don't want to conform to what they're telling you to do? Middle-class people always want to conform. They want to just kind of stay in that box, right? So what we have to understand is that you don't necessarily want to be okay with mediocrity, right? Most of us are not okay with it. The idea of being mediocre or average, actually, like those two words really bother me, right? They really bother me, but they didn't used to. I remember when I was in school thinking, like, the teacher would say, oh, the average student got, like, you know, a 75. And so I would like get an 80 or an 82, and I would be like, oh my gosh, I'm like a little bit above average. So average was like, okay, well, that's where I should be. But average sucks, right? Nobody wants to have an average life. Nobody wants to have, like, you know, average kids. Nobody wants to have like an average home or an average car. That's not something that we spend our time thinking like average is awesome, right? That's what I totally want. We don't think that way. We think I want more. I want this. I want a great car. I want to, you know, that sells the dream to you. You don't sell the dream thinking, oh, I want average. Although somehow we feel like it's okay. But in some ways, like, we're okay with being average or being mediocre, right? I don't want to be okay with mediocre. And you know what? I don't think you should either. I think you should be excited about the fact that you have an opportunity to not be mediocre, to not be average, because the more that you have that opportunity, which every single person does, and the more that you take it and you like hold on to it and you run with it, the better life that you can have. But what happens is when you're in a middle class mindset, the other average thinkers or the other crabs in the bucket around you are like, oh, but it's risky. You could, you know, you might not succeed, or, you know, people might question you, or, you know, you might get hurt, you know, I mean, things like that happen. And so the crabs in the bucket are the ones that are basically trying to keep you and make you still continue to be average, right? Christine, I haven't seen you in forever, lady. Oh my goodness, you just joined up. I honestly, like, you have to have that do or die mentality in order to be able to bust out of the middle class. And that mentality is like, I would rather die than follow somebody else's script or follow somebody else's mindset or their what they want to be able to create for their life than anything. Like, I can't do that. Like, I didn't know that I was an entrepreneur at heart, right? I was on the path. I studied hard. I got good grades. I went to USC. I studied a lot, a lot. And then somewhere along the lines, I started to realize that maybe this isn't the life that I want. Like, I actually got a taste of what entrepreneurship was like one summer, and I had so much fun. And like, the people around me, like, not all of them, but like, they didn't have degrees, and they were enjoying themselves, and they were making great money, and they were helping people, and they were making a difference. And that was what I thought, gosh, this is awesome. Not that I wasn't going to make a difference in my own field. I was going to go into the medical field, but I got to the point where I realized when I got back into that field and I started to actually practice, and I wasn't happy, and I didn't like my boss, and I didn't like my options, and I didn't like the fact that I had a 9 to 5, and, you know, I had all these things that were limiting, and I kept going back to like how nice it was to be able to be that entrepreneur and have that freedom of time and not have anybody's thumb on me and telling me how much time I could take off, or, you know, be sick or any of that. Oh, I only have so many hours and I'm allowed to be sick. Like, I'm an entrepreneur. I can have that freedom. I can take the time that I need. Today I just got back from my daughter's school. You know, we were walking out. I was walking out with 2 of the parents, and they were like, oh my gosh, there's some kids have school parties today, and some kids have school parties tomorrow. Like, that must be so rough for parents that have 2 kids, and, you know, how are they going to get out of work like both days in a row? And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I didn't want to like brag, but I was like, if I had two kids in school and I needed to do 2 parties, like what's the big deal? I just would schedule my life around it or schedule my business around it, right? And that's the thing that I think sounds abnormal. Like I should have said it, right? Because the middle class mindset is you only have so much time to be able to spend with your kids. I want to be able to have all my time with my kids, right? I've got some colleagues of mine that came from like the military industry. They came from retail, they came from hospitality, and they have literally like shifted their entire careers, shifted their entire job, shifted their lives so they can spend as much time with their kids. I mean, I did an interview a few weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, with a good friend of mine, Nicole Wynn, and she like runs an incredible business. She's a powerhouse lady. She's out there every day helping families, but she's also home in time to pick up her kids and be with them. And you see her, she's all over social media and all over Facebook and Instagram, posting that she is actually spending time with her kids, right? And that's what you do as an entrepreneur if you do it the right way. If you work with the right firm, you work with the right people, you're in a position that you can create the life and design it the way that you want, right? I don't want to be a middle-class mindset. I want to be world-class mindset, but that takes training. And there are books out there, like one of the books that I read a lot is, it's like a daily read. It's 177 Mental Toughness Secrets for the World Class. And I read it and it talks about the world class versus the middle class. And I see so much of it in myself and also some of the people that I know of like how we were taught to think. And unfortunately, if we don't start shifting some of those things and changing the way that we look at our lives and our behaviors, we're always going to have those types of things, always going to have that middle class life. So we have to make changes in order to be able to improve it. So I wanted to start to talk to you about, stopping trading your time for dollars, right? You have the ability, most of us, when we work a job, when we have a boss, when we have all those things, we're literally trading our time for dollars. We are going in at a certain time, we're giving out like our time and our effort for a certain amount of time, for a certain amount of money, right? What we feel we're worth. Is that what you feel you're worth? Or is that what you're willing to take from your boss, right? I decided long ago that I didn't want anyone to determine my worth but me, right? I got to the point where I thought, you know what? I don't want to trade my time for dollars anymore, even though I was, trained to make great money in the medical field. I felt like, you know what? There's too much of a sacrifice. There's too much of a price. I have to give up too much of my family time. I have to do call time. I don't get to determine my schedule. I don't have the flexibility that I want. And I can have no cap on my income as an entrepreneur. So the middle class script is to like shame you into submission, is to like be a good boy or a little girl, right? Or a good employee. Be a good employee, don't cause too much waves, don't get a write-up, don't get any of those kinds of things. You study hard because you're told to, not because you want to. For me, I got a degree that I was told that was a good idea because I could be a professional. Actually, it's funny, when I started in the business, my mom was like, that's fantastic that you want to be an entrepreneur. I really like that. She's like, but go get your degree and finish, and then you can go do whatever you want, right? But what I find is that because of that middle class script and that middle class script that's like running in most of our heads, so many of us are programmed to do it a certain way. And when we deviate from that, people shame us or people make us feel bad or they don't talk to us anymore. I have a lot of my friends that don't really talk to me anymore because I kept talking about how I wanted to be successful and how I wanted to succeed and how I wanted to do big things in my life. And they just thought, she's weird. She's turned into a crazy person. And so a lot of those people that I'm sure that are friends with me on Facebook now, they think I'm a crazy person and I'm okay with it. But you get shamed when you're not following that middle class script. And so what I've seen also is that a lot of people, because they're following that middle class script, you're taught to do X, Y, Z, but like you don't have enough time for your kids. You're buried in debt. You don't have the time to spend with your spouse. Like when's the last time you had a date night with your spouse that you were actually like, not feeling stressed about work or any of the other stuff that was going on? When's the last time you got to really spend time with your kids and not be worried? When did you, how's your health, right? I mean, because stress starts to pile up on you when you have all these things on you that you were supposed to do. You were supposed to buy a car. You're supposed to buy a house. You're supposed to have, your kids are supposed to be in private school or well, I don't know if it was in private school, but you're supposed to portray this image everything good in your life, right? And that's why when you see on Facebook, everybody's smiling and happy. Somebody told me the other day, they're like, Facebook should be called False Book because nobody actually portrays what's really going on, right? Hey, Joel, I see a lot of you guys getting on. Please comment, please, like, share this with your friends. There's a lot of opportunity out there because this mindset, almost everybody has this mindset, or and have been taught by people who have this middle class mentality and this mindset, and we have to find a way to break out of it. The only way we're going to be able to break out of it is to learn, is to face it and have conversations about it openly and move past it. I get overwhelmed, or I see a lot of my clients that I sit down with and I talk to them about their money. They get overwhelmed with all the responsibilities that they have, all the things that they have to do, that they're required to do, right? It doesn't work that way. Unfortunately, like all those things that we're required to do, they end up putting so much more stress on us, and they end up creating more chaos in our minds. And that's the overwhelming. I went to a mentor of mine and I said, hey, I find myself getting super overwhelmed. And she gave me this look like, how can you even be overwhelmed? It doesn't make sense. And I thought, yeah, how can I be overwhelmed? But so many of you are overwhelmed on a daily basis. Like, how many of you comment right here if you're like, I'm overwhelmed with, I know Herbie just joined, I'm overwhelmed with my girls' soccer schedule and, what I have to do here and my job and my time. And like, how nice would it be to be able to dictate your time, right? And get up when you wanted to. Like this morning, my alarm didn't go off, and I'm supposed to get my daughter to the bus at like 7:50 or like 8 o'clock. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to rush today. Today, I'm just going to drive her to school instead of putting her on the bus. And, whatever. It's not like I had to be somewhere and a boss was like, oh, you're late. I didn't have any of that. So I thought today, I'm not going to be like, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. I just didn't feel like it, And so, Christine, I see you. You're overwhelmed too. It happens all the time, right? And whether or not you're doing well financially, and that ends up being a huge part of it, but whether or not you're doing well financially, like, the overwhelming piece always happens. And so how can we make that change? How can we do things differently? If you guys have questions about this, like, ask, comment, share this with people that reach out to me. If you feel like, yeah, I'm overwhelmed and I need somebody to help me simplify my life, or help me, just kind of lay everything out so I can figure out what's really important. Like, you have the opportunity to be able to do that, and you have people that can help. What I found is that being a good girl, working hard, being a nice lady, going to college, getting a good job, not taking risks, like, having they say professionals should manage your money. And then some people will say, oh, but professionals shouldn't manage your money. They should, you should get out of debt before you can save money. Who told you that? That's crazy. You have to be able to do all of these things at the same time. Like, they say you're not able to, like, walk through your life and go, oh, I'm not allowed to talk to my kids while I drive in a car, or I'm not allowed to, I'm not allowed to drink a drink while I'm in the car, right? Sometimes you have to do these things at the same time. Like, they say you have to walk and chew gum at the same time. Yeah, you're going to have to get out of debt, and you're going to have to save money at the same time. None of these things can exist in a vacuum. You have to be able to do them all together, right? So, I'm kind of on my rant today, and I really have been thinking about this mindset, and it's getting me fired up because I'm like, you know what? Too many people are in this middle class mindset, and we have to break out of it. And I'm so tired and sick of people telling me, like, well, you don't understand. I understand exactly what's going on. I was raised by the same society as you were, but I chose to break out of it. I choose to make the choices that help me get in another direction versus where you are. You want to stay where you are. So if you want to stay where you are, that's okay. I love you. I care about you, but you have to take the steps to get to the next level and whatever you have to do. So I don't care what business you do or what entrepreneurship you do or whatever. I mean, this is all about entrepreneurship, but for me, I think to myself, your mindset is what has to change before anything else can change. So if you want to change your 2018 and you're writing down your resolutions and you're writing down your goals, which I hope you are now, you have to start thinking, like, how do I want my life to be? What picture do I want to paint? I posted the other day about dream boards and goals and taking an opportunity to really think about what you want your life to look like. But sometimes what happens is, and I know you guys have done it before because I have, right? You've written down all the things that you want, or you've thought about them. And then when you go to start achieving them, something happens. Some little thought in your mind says, oh, but you can't do that because, or, oh, I don't even like to use the word, I don't like to use the word can't, but something in your mind tells you, oh, you're not going to be able to do that because of this, or you're not going to be able to remember what happened last time. And so your mind is reminding you of the failures or your disability to be able to make those things come to fruition, and it stops you, and it stops you in your tracks. And so you have to be so forwardly focused on what you want to be able to do that nothing can stop you, that you got to stop scamming yourself, right? And when those thoughts come in your mind, you have to like just push them back and go, that's not real, right? It's not real at all. So Carla posted, hola, see translation. So I appreciate you guys. I just wanted to get on for a few minutes today. And if you guys have any questions or any comments, please feel free. I would like to hear them. It's my husband loves The Matrix, right? And you know how in The Matrix they ask him to take the red pill or the blue pill, and I can never remember which pill he took. But there's one part in it where he wants to get out of the car, right? He wants to get out of the car and he wants to run, and it's raining. And she opens the door, and the lady says to him, Neo, you've been down that road. You know where it leads, right? You've already been down the road of the middle class mindset. You know where it leads. Are you happy with where you are, or do you want to make some changes? If you're okay with making changes, then you're going to have to get uncomfortable, right? If you're okay with where you are and you're satisfied, then God bless you. I think that that's awesome. But this channel is for people who are dissatisfied with where they are, that want to do something else, right? And so for me, I'm looking at it like, if you want to make changes in your life, if you want to get out of the car and you want to run down that rainy road, run down that rainy road. But I'm looking for people who are on a mission to make change, who are on a mission to make their life more exciting, who are on a mission to make their life feel more fulfilled, right? Because there's nothing worse than having, great money and not being fulfilled at the end of the day. And that's another thing I hear from my clients when I sit down with them. So what are you going to do to make your life a fulfilling life, to make your 2018 fulfilled and full, right? Making you feel good about everything you've been able to achieve. I care about you guys. I love you. That's why I want you guys to share this. I want you to share this with people who you think maybe they're not fulfilled in their life. Maybe they're happy, or maybe they're not totally happy with where they are, or maybe they don't have enough time, or they don't have enough money, right? What is it that they're lacking? What is it that you're lacking, right? Can you take an honest look and write down what you really feel like you're lacking in your life? And share it with me. Message me. Tell me what it is that you really feel like you want to be able to do differently in 2018, and I can help you, okay? Oh, Carla's got a question. My main issue was rushing new people and ended up losing them. Can you give a tip or advice to remember to slow it down? Oh, so I'm not exactly sure what you mean because it's kind of specific. But here's the thing. This is about building relationships. When you're in business for yourself, that's one of the things that the world class do. They build relationships. They build networks with people. They don't just look for jobs or look for stuff or look for somebody to work with potentially. They build relationships and networks. So you have to get people to the point where you have some type of rapport with them and you're able to create some type of connection, right? The connection is really important because you're dealing with people. People don't do business with people that they don't like or that they're not connected with or they don't feel some type of rapport with. That's a really important thing. So that's what I would do, like in business or in general, like I would make sure that you're building relationships with people that you're working with. You're finding a way to connect. So, if you're meeting them in person or you're, meeting them like via email, it's easier even via phone. Like it's hard to do that by text, right? That's not the best way to connect with people. But if I were you, I would find ways to find commonality, build rapport with them, ask them questions. What are some of the things that are important to them? What are some of the things that they'd like to be able to do differently? And why do they think they've gotten to the point where they are, like what mistakes maybe that they've made, the more that you're able to connect, because as you ask those questions about them, you may realize certain things that you've done. And also you can share your stories with them of how and why you might have done things your certain way that you did. And that might resonate with them, right? So that's what I would do. I would do what you can to connect better because people don't, they just don't respond to, an opportunity, or they don't respond to a product or a service or something like that. they respond to the person that's actually talking to them about it, because if they can find that there's an actual need, or they can see how that person can show them that there's an importance to it, or the gravity of it, then you're in a better position to be able to move people to kind of your way of thinking. Okay, hope that helps. Let's see. I don't have too many questions today, but you know what? It's okay, because I've been on a crazy rant about middle class mindset, so I don't mind. But I would ask, if you can share this with people that you know, share it with people that you think, you know what, that person could use, a change in their mindset. I have a good friend of mine who I haven't talked to in quite some time, and it's mostly because he had that middle class mindset, and we could just kind of grew apart eventually. Like, he didn't understand my drive and my desire to be in business, my goals to be able to do bigger things. He couldn't understand it with it. He couldn't understand like what I was trying to do with it. And we grew apart because he was like, you just seem to be really like money hungry. And I was like, it's not about money. It's actually, I really don't care about money. It's the freedom. It's the ability to be able to do things the way that I want to. And I think that sometimes it takes time to be able to explain that. I'm getting lots of likes and hearts. I love it. So yeah, I appreciate you guys. Let's get after it. Go out and follow your own dreams. Share with me. Like I said, message me, what you'd like to be able to do differently in 2018. You can find me on GGinspire. I'm going to be shifting over to GGinspire probably almost exclusively, not just on Gillian Giorgio on my Facebook Live, but I'm looking forward to it. And next week, we're going to be interviewing. So we interviewed Jeff King, the director of Muse School, like a month or so ago, and the sound was really bad and the quality wasn't good. So we're going to redo it next week. So on December 21st, 1 o'clock, we're going to be on with GGinspire with Jeff King, director of Muse School, and I'll be interviewing him about entrepreneurship and mindset and communication. So definitely have your questions ready for that day. It's going to be awesome. I'm just so grateful that you guys all got on today. And I just want to tell you, just be inspired for a great life, because you have that opportunity every day. So what are you going to do with it? Be inspired.